This is one of the coolest stories leading up to training camp for the New York Jets, and not enough people are talking about it. We change that right now. Zoinks! It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Connor Rogers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever been.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
Howdy diddly, everybody. My name is Paul Esden Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. Make sure you guys like the video. Hit subscribe down below for new and insightful New York Jets content and really telling stories, just like we're about to do today. This is a storyline that, quite frankly, I'm kind of flabbergasted that it's flown under the radar throughout the New York Jets offseason, but I got a shameless reason to talk about it today. It's been a story and a video I've been wanting to do for a while, and shout out to Rich Cimini of ESPN. We have the full column down below in our description. Rich Cimini and the rest of the NFL Nation reporters for ESPN were tasked with, quote-unquote, picking out the surprise offseason standout thus far, and Rich Cimini chose Max Mitchell, the offensive tackle out of Louisiana. Here's what Rich Cimini said, quote, the 2022 fourth-round pick who missed time last season with a knee sprain and a hereditary blood clotting condition rebounded with a strong offseason. Mitchell, who started 5 games in 2022 at right tackle, will compete for that job in training camp. Here's more. He was in the midst of a solid rookie year when clots were discovered in one of his lungs and his right calf, ending his season. He can manage the condition with medication, which will allow him to continue his career. Guys, I don't think we give it proper context. Now, let's consider this, okay? Max Mitchell drafted in the 4th round, okay, by the New York Jets in the 2022 NFL draft. Our good buddy, friend of the show, we'll have him back on soon, Connor J. Rogers, at the time that Mitchell was drafted, he was working on the Bleacher Report live draft desk. And every time he had analysis on a Jets pick, I quickly grabbed it from the live stream, cut up the clip, and then tweeted it out so Jet fans could hear what an expert like Connor Rogers thinks about the pick. What Connor Rogers said in the clip, that's also featured in the article down below, is Max Mitchell is a developmental tackle that obviously is not going to be starting this year because they have Mekhi Becton and George Fant. Fast forward a couple of months for this developmental tackle, which Robert Saleh kind of intimated he wasn't supposed to start in 2022, but maybe he has a chance in 2023, the season we're actually heading to now, to compete. But then all of a sudden, as Mike Tyson once infamously said, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. So Mekhi Becton, of course, goes down in August with a fractured kneecap, among other injuries, obviously, he suffered over the years. So he's out for the season. Jets go, oh, shit, we need to get somebody. They immediately signed Dwayne Brown. He gets plugged in. Leading up into week 1, heading into that Ravens game, oh, snap, Dwayne Brown's an IR. We're like, whoa, IR? And the Jets were super hush-hush about it. But ultimately, what transpired there is during a workout, he tore his rotator cuff. And when he tore his rotator cuff, he was placed on IR, ended up playing through it for 12 games during the season. But obviously, he was out for week 1. And it took that combination of scenarios and many more during the season. But Max Mitchell went from developmental tackle, who's going to be kind of a dart throw. Like, let's see what this kid can do in the future. And, oh, snap, just kidding, he's starting week 1. Now, people will say and look at some of the analytics of Max Mitchell and say he wasn't great last year. And I'm not arguing or advocating, quite frankly, that he was. The analytics speak for themselves. Pro Football Focus graded him 55.5 overall, 53.8 pass blocking, and 52.7 run blocking. That's not great. Max Mitchell appeared in 6 games, made 5 starts. He wasn't, and he will never be, misremembered as one of the best offensive linemen out of this class, but he was serviceable. And why that matters is, when's the last time the Jets had a serviceable fourth-round pick, a guy that wasn't even cut within the same offseason? Think about some of those guys over the years. Guys like Jalen Saunders, the wide receiver who was drafted and then cut before we even got to the 53-man roster, or guys like Ja'Kai Polite, who was a third-round pick and didn't even make it to the roster. They have a guy, Max Mitchell, who was drafted to be a developmental guy, is forced into action and is serviceable. He's solid. He's not great. He's not the worst offensive lineman in the world. He was just solid, which, by the way, is like, wow, Jets found something here in the fourth round. God bless America. And then, of course, the reason he only appeared in 6 games and made 5 starts is a very scary situation. He was placed on the NFI list, the non-football injury list, in December, and we later found out, because the Jets were playing coy with it and said they wanted Mitchell to speak for himself, but Rich Cimini got an interview with Max Mitchell's father and found out that this was a very serious blood clot condition that, quite frankly, could have taken away his entire football career. And some of the details that his father shared with Rich Cimini said that it is a hereditary blood clotting condition called Factor V Leiden. And basically, this is a condition that hit Max Mitchell with, again, blood clots in his right calf and lung, and he was immediately pulled for the rest of the season. He was out. But the good news is, both at the time and now, the good news at the time was he was placed immediately on blood thinning medication and was expected to make a full recovery. And this was not supposed to be life-threatening or career-threatening. So those were the two, thank goodness, because a scary situation like this, you never know what can happen. We obviously saw, speaking of fourth-round picks, Cameron Clark had to retire because of that scary spinal injury that happened during Jets practice. So this Max Mitchell news, he goes, and this is just the amazing journey. It's almost Hollywood scriptish, but he's not a quarterback or anything, so he's not getting the same level of pub or love or anything. This guy went from, okay, he ain't playing this year, to, okay, yes, he is playing, to, okay, pulled off the field, his career could be in jeopardy, to all of a sudden, you may have noticed in May, as the Jets are going through their offseason training activities, Max Mitchell is back on the field. Max Mitchell is back practicing. And Max Mitchell, according to everyone I've talked to, is firmly in the running for the right tackle starting job. Zach Rosenblatt joined me on my show. Again, we try to have all kinds of cool guests on our show, live guests and videos like this and all kinds of other things. Zach Rosenblatt said, hey, remember Max Mitchell? He also brought up Billy Turner in the right tackle conversation that could include guys like Mekhi Becton, etc. Max Mitchell could be firmly in that conversation. What a great story as a Jets mid-round draft pick, where they never hit on those, to a guy that is competing for a starting job on the offensive line for a team that has Super Bowl aspirations. This is an amazing story. This is an amazing football comeback. I am rooting for Max Mitchell. We haven't heard much about him. Hopefully we hear more about him during some training camp stories and things. I'm rooting for the young man. First off, it's great for the mid-round pick thing. It's great for Max Mitchell himself. This was a very scary situation that I think scared a lot of us on what potentially this could mean. And this 23-year-old has a chance to make an impact for the gosh darn New York Jets, baby. And offensive linemen are important. I feel better about the offensive line this year for the Jets, and really since the AFC Championship years, because you think about the depth at every level. Sure, you got Dwayne Brown, but you have Mekhi Becton. Okay, as options. Carter Warren is floating out there. You go to the guards, obviously. You got Laken Tomlinson. You have Elijah Vera Tucker at guard. But you also have Wes Schweitzer, who could kind of bounce all over the place. Tristan Colon. You got some guys there. You go to center. You got Connor McGovern, obviously. You got Joe Tippmann. Okay, you got some versatility in terms of options. So we mentioned right tackle, Max Mitchell, Billy Turner, Mekhi Becton. Like, if the Jets injury bug is slapped on again, you feel confident that, well, they got answers. They're not like, oh man, they're totally screwed without some of these guys. And that is a credit to guys like Max Mitchell on this team as serviceable depth options if it needs to be done. I don't know. I don't think the stories get enough love in terms of Max Mitchell, and we need to make sure we do that here on the show and tell you guys the stories that matter, the stories you should be paying attention to. And quite frankly, bluntly, Max Mitchell is one of those guys. We're rooting for you, Max. Amazing comeback, and it's great to see you back fully with the New York Jets through practices and whatnot so far. We'll see whether he's starting, which would be amazing, or he's a key backup just in case, break the glass. We know he can be ready to go in a pinch. Shout out, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like the video. Hit subscribe down below. We got some fantastic content coming up on the channel this week. And if you've subscribed, You'll never miss it. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Take care.